Good afternoon to whoever may be watching. We are in our final lunch and learn for the week. Today is Thursday, May 18th, and I'll be your host today. My name is Ashley Wilson. I go by either, whatever you feel comfortable calling me, whoever wants to join in. So just to do some housekeeping to start off, we have decisions days coming up next week. So May 22nd through the 24th. There'll be a ton of activities. I'll be running and helping run a foundations course in the training for decisions as well. So if you haven't already and you're checking this out, please come by and see us. Hang out in Virginia Beach for a few days. Some upcoming end of life support. It's been set for all versions up to and including 6. So we just have some dates here at the bottom to consider. Mainly the bottom on June 1st is what's coming up, total cessation of end of life support, including critical services. And then just for our product roadmap, generally this is on a bi-weekly basis. So that would have been today, just an hour ago. But if you missed it today, we'll also have one 2 Thursdays from now, which will be June 1st. So June 1st will be the next product roadmap. If you want to see what we're working on, what we made improvements on, what's coming up, those are really exciting to pay attention to. That's it for now. Let me pop in here at the beginning, take a look at some of these questions I've got coming in. I use fetch entities to fetch folder state type. Why can't I use current as a filter of results? I think I know what you're talking about here. So you mean, I'm going to just pull up a fetch entities really quickly here. How can I subtract X days from current day? Oh, we can go over that too as well. So let's see, folder state. And then when you're talking about getting VT, when you're talking about getting the filter, are you meaning by this search criteria, this fetch criteria piece, and then that current doesn't show up here? Okay. If so, it may just be because it's a common field and it's not available in this fetch criteria menu. Same with state. So in some like specific state, not just from state. So even if that might be available, like in a full flow execution extension or case entity, it won't be a field that you can select here. The solution would be using a rule collection filter. And what you can do is from all of the results, oh my goodness, I can't drag and drop this. From all the results that come in, what you can do is pick the collection from those entities that have come in, all those folder states. And then you can make the rule around what we're looking for. So just from the entity, from the entity results, there's the current. So you could do if all current exists, and if that exists, then I want to return all of those matches, or create the rule from here. So whatever logic you want from all of the current that are coming through. And then that new list that you get, just make sure filtered. Doing some housekeeping, keeping the output. And then what we should be able to do is get that completed list into like our end step here. So if I wanted to add a new list, you could either have that show up later on in the flow. So if you want to pick from that list of all that current type, whatever we filtered out. And what's nice about the rule is that it works similarly to that fetch criteria. It's just a separate step for that field. Why is that property hidden on fetch? You know, I'm not quite sure why it's hidden on the fetch add criteria. I can definitely ask and come back to you with an answer though. But I know that that's not the only specific case. I know there's a reason behind it. I think it's because there's specific fields that are named similarly. And it's to keep from crossing the streams. This should be a workaround for this. to the second question, because I want to address that too. If we needed to get a date, so minus how can I subtract X days from the current day? There's a few things, I suppose there's a few things that you could do. So naturally, whenever you're working with a date, we'll just use maybe some get current date. What we can do is add on to this specific date. I think I might actually have a better example of this in another demo. Because what you can do is say, if you wanted to find out if somebody was within their time period of a expiration, or if they were under the age of 18, the same principle would apply. You would just apply it either to the year or to the day. Let me pull up something really quickly so I can illustrate this a bit better. Bear with me here. I'm still here. I just need to pull up our page. Still here. Give me just a second. I'm trying to find this specific step that I can do this with. Ah, okay. So there is actually steps for adding and subtracting. There we go. So your source date for subtract time span, you could have as the current day. However many days you want. So 6. And then that date that comes out is its own date time specific date. So what that should come out to be is whatever this result would be. All right, if the number of days are going to be variable, that makes sense. If the number of days are going to be variable, we should be able to do what I would do is make another rule, right? So if we needed to subtract whatever this rule is, feeds into however many days we need to subtract from the time span. And that's what we could feed in. There's also a ton of these date steps. So set date on date time. And that's something that you could use too. So you get the source date as the current date. And then now you have these that could be variable. So I could have that get the time span date, and then however many days, months, or years show up from there, however many I want to subtract, then I would just set it here in this dialer. So set the day, month, the year. But how do I know which day? How do I know which day? Like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? It's generally, if that's the case, if you're talking about like what day of the week, that would be available in the datetime as well, that datetime piece. So this eventually is going to output a datetime. And then the datetime, that data type has a day of the week as part of that data type. It's just not here. It's just part of the output or part of the structure. Can you demo how I can input an integer and it will output date time that days in past? Can you demo how I can input an integer and it will output date time that many days in the past? Yeah, sure. Let me try something here. There's a few ways that we can go about it. So if I have this as like my date, current date, my new date. Have to make these date time, of course. Current date, and if this needs to be computed date, here's what I could do. Now I need to be able to enter in a number that would set up the offset for this time span. So I would need to create some kind of time span. Oop. And again, this is just one way of doing this. So the idea is you want to be able to add and use these data types. I'm gonna grab this time span from, let me think here. So now I want to set this offset as something that's going to be variable. Instead of something like this being constant. Let me see what kind of dates we can. Or better yet, take a look at our doc page and see. So usually, if I'm thinking too much about something, this will be a lot easier. Some date, time format settings. Look at these date steps here. I know that rules can check for those specific dates. I need to update a specific date. While I'm figuring out how to get these steps in order, can you give me an idea of the context of what you might use this for? Might help me figure out what a good example would be, or what to show. I wanted to do, so I could put in any number here. And then I wanted to get a date. Get a date time value. Let me see. So the trick I'm running into now is how to pass that number in here. There is a way to do this. I just have to think it through for a little bit. Could just take the time here since we're already here anyway. But while I'm doing that too, just wanted to make sure anybody else had any other questions too, that we get those addressed while I'm picking at this for a little bit. And I'm just picking some constant value. So whatever the start time might be. But this date, I would need to pick. I think what I would need is a rule to output or change the data that I'm working with right now. Because if I can import into a rule, whatever that value might be, I can use the outcome of the rule to actually change that data value instead. Let me try that. I picked a rule, like a statement rule. I took in some kind of current date. And then days off or days subtracted or whatever. So date time, and this would be some integer. So I could say if current date exists, and as an output, I could change the current date to a new computed date. Change to let me think. Is there a way that I can find out? Question from Muriel. Are you familiar with the remove flow step run data schedule job that gets auto installed in version 8? I'm not, but let me read on. I was told that it removes stale flow data like time to complete, etc. If I want to use data mining in my processes, do we need either to disable that job or change the settings to be a longer period than 7 days? Where did you hear about this remove flow step run data schedule job?
Okay, when we installed it, it turned off the can be job server. So when we went to go turn it back on, I noticed that there was a job there that we didn't create.
Okay.
So we were on with someone on support and they said that it was automatically created. And I asked a little bit more information about it. And I was told that what it would be doing is removing, like I said, flow data like time to run and things like that every 7 days.
Mm-hmm.
So my question then was, if I'm going to be putting in a project that has processes that will last 7 days, more than 7 days. So I wanted to know if I want to use data mining, which is built in, then will that prevent me? And if so, do I just delete it, or do I, that's that bottom one, remove flow step run data?
This one here.
Yeah, it auto installs. So
okay. What you might be able to do. So let me look in here and actually go into this. I want to get into this flow. Give me just a second, because what you can do is just instead of deleting it, you can disable it and stop it from running, from mining. What I'm going to look into this flow. I don't think that this actually would hurt you if you disabled it or cause any major problems. The only thing that you might run into is just a backlog, but that might be what you want if you're trying to mine that data, is you need a backlog of it, at least until you upload it into the mining agent. Yeah.
Yes. And I haven't looked into mining at all. I meant to ask this on the roadmap call, but it's canceled for today. So you get it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, all good. I know a bit about the mining, the process mining. I know that if you, it's any like case data, so it follows any specific cases, and it finds different it'll find similarities, like, okay, this of the 1,000 cases that have come in, 200 have gone through this particular path, and the other 20% came through this particular path. And what you can do is further drill down and see any bottlenecks that you might have, because timestamps are required. So I could see, well, why is this taking me so long? Well, I can see that only these particular resources are involved in this step. And then once you identify bottlenecks, you can start changing your process around it.
Right. Yes.
I'll be able to hop in there in just a second, but what were you just going to say? Go ahead.
I was going to say the process that we're running is to onboard wealth management clients. So from beginning to end, it might take 2 months. So deleting data after 7 days doesn't do me any good.
Yeah, you might need it much longer than that. I wonder if this is this something that just runs on every 7 days?
And it runs every day.
Other older than 7 days. So that's where I would change it. Either change this to like however many days you would want to keep records of. So it'll ask anything older than 99999. Then it runs how frequently. So this ran earlier this morning.
Yeah, I believe it runs every single day.
That's what I would do. If it's daily, have it check for a longer period. So it's not checking, is this 7 days old? It's checking if it's going to be
1,000 days
or something, whatever you do. 365 days if you just want it for the year. That's what I would change. This seems like it's a baked in flow. Like I can't change it like I would.
One that you added yourself. Like you
yeah, exactly. Yeah, thank you. You read my mind. So like this refresh SF token, it's attached to this flow. So this flow is what runs on the scheduled job.
Right.
This refresh piece, this is more like a function. Like there's not a flow for me to edit, so there's no step for me to edit. The configuration all happens here. So that is where I would change the 7-day to 10,000 days. Or disabling it altogether. But if you want at least some cleanup to happen, I would just change that date to less frequent.
Okay.
That's what I would do.
All right. And so you've apparently been running it every day since August, and you haven't noticed any detrimental effects because you didn't know it was there. So all right.
Not for me. Yeah. And this is a server that my team uses. And there's like, I mean, just to give you an idea, this is how many projects just live in this folder. And these are all their own. These are all very specific. And yeah, I think this just purges like erroneous flow data. It doesn't delete the actual projects. But for your case, if you need that flow data to run on mining agents later, yeah, if you want to shut that off or just extend the days, we know that there's not at least a performance lag there.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, no sweat. This is still itching my brain. What I'm going to do, because it seems like date times work a little more complex than I thought they would. I thought that I'd be able to, and this is probably where you fell to, is I thought that I'd be able to change these dynamically, like make this day different. But it seems that there's just an extra step here. So what I can do is I'll work on this just so I have a bit more time. I mean, I'm happy to do it on this call too, but I'll work on this and then export the project to your email once I have like an example of that working or an answer on how to get that working. If I can't get this here. Oh, well, okay. What's a solution? I didn't realize you already had one. You should be able to unmute.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yep.
So that's pretty easy. So basically you would just multiply that integer by -1 and then pass it to add days from now. So you basically pass a negative integer to add days. I can show you, I can share my screen and show you.
Perfect. With this add date, with the add date step, did you have that already before getting on the call? Or were you just looking for another solution?
Yeah, I had that.
Oh, okay. So there wasn't necessarily like confusion around it. You were just looking to see if we had a different way of doing it.
Mhm.
I don't know. I think that would be the best way. If you can just add a negative integer to that add date, even better. Didn't think of that. It's always something small. So this right here. And change this to some negative number that we can pull from the flow. Maybe do like a times -1 to whatever day somebody puts in here. Or just straight from this guy. Ugh, new list. And then I guess whatever this date would be that output. So I put 7, whatever 7 days ago should be coming out of here. Yep, May 11th. There you go. So now you have a variable date chain picture, date